want to talk about emotional abuse for a second because it is something that has come up for me recently. I've been making a podcast, and by the way, it's in my link tree if you want to go look at it. And I was going to do an episode on emotional abuse because it's what I dealt with, and it is challenging. It is challenging. So I went to make the video, and I kept having to stop and start over because I realized I was not educating you about emotional abuse. I started to I could see myself trying to convince myself I'd actually been abused, which is very common if you come from a situation where you've been abused. Physical abuse always includes emotional abuse, so there's always going to be that emotional aspect. Emotional abuse is sometimes even more challenging because scars and bruises may fade, but the mental damage can't be seen, and so you lost that physical indicator, and now you're stuck with a part of you that has been manipulated into believing you're always wrong. And I've dealt with physical aspects of abuse, but I know many people who say that when they're being abused, it's not even the physical part that's the worst, it's the emotional aspect of it. And so when you're in an abusive situation, you're going to have someone who is a master manipulator, and they're going to convince you you're the problem. And every single fight you have with them, it's going to always be turned around to you being the problem, never them. And so something inevitably is going to bring you to leaving them. And that cycle, why does it continue if you remove them from the situation? Well, they've basically conditioned you into now manipulating yourself into thinking you're the problem, even when they're not there to be the ones to do it. That's been done to you for so long that you start to do that yourself. You start to say, no, you're the problem, not them. They're not the problem. Maybe you were being dramatic. You were just overreacting. It's not that bad. And so I had to make a part of myself that would basically turn off whenever I started to realize I was questioning my abuse. I had to recognize in my brain that was coming up, and I had to say, okay, that is the abused part of me that's coming up, and I'm going to just basically turn that off and remind myself logically of what happened. Why am I doing this? Why did I leave them? That is the hardest thing about an abusive relationship, that cyclical pattern of knowing you're being done wrong, reaching a point where it comes to a head, and you're like, yep, I'm going to stand up for myself and leave. And then that love bombing that they'll give you, oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean this. Or, well, I only did this because you caused me to do this, and you're the reason. And if you didn't do that, I wouldn't have to be this way, and I hate that. So yeah, whenever you leave them, inevitably you start doing that to yourself. So turn that off. Say, yep, I know that's how you feel right now, that this is not true. Stick to the facts, though. Stick to the facts. You left for a reason. People like that generally don't change, and you can't bet on them changing. The best advice I ever had was from my therapist, of course. Don't date someone, don't marry someone, don't be with someone, or don't be friends with someone for their potential. Be with them for who they are now, because you are never promised that they will reach that potential. So yeah, I have 3 almost fully recorded podcasts of what was intended to educate others on emotional abuse turned out to really just be me sitting there trying to convince myself, yep, I dealt with abuse. I could not even verbalize what had happened to me. And that's normal. That's part of the pattern of abuse. When that starts to happen, allow yourself to kind of turn off that mind. I stopped recording. I said, okay, this is not the episode to record right now. I know what I went through was wrong. I didn't spend 12 years or 9 years in therapy for nothing. And I decided to talk about something else, and I moved on. Don't allow yourself to be a part of that cycle, because that's what's happening. That person got into your head. They left a little seed, grew into a tree that will probably continue to haunt you until you fully work through it in therapy. And you may never fully, get over having that feeling coming up and thinking, did I do the right thing? Was I the problem? I feel like it's like me with Crohn's disease. I am so much better than I was. I don't have flare-ups nearly as often. I found my coping mechanisms for my Crohn's disease. I had to do the same thing for my mental health. And I know that those feelings are going to come up. I know that person's going to creep in my brain and I'm going to have these moments of doubt, and that is part of a pattern of abuse. That is part of the cycle of abuse. And the more you can understand that from a logical perspective, kind of almost like create this part of your brain that is able to say, that's what happens. This is normal. This is a very normal feeling to have. The faster you're going to be able to cope with it and stand firm and protect you, because you're protecting the part of you that was walked on, stepped on, beat down, pushed around for years. And she's vulnerable, but the part of you that left is strong, and you made that part to protect you. Don't forget why you left. Don't forget why you did what you did. It was right. This episode was brought to you by 9 years of therapy and parts work, interfamily systems, whatever you want to call it. I can't emphasize the importance enough of doing parts work when you've had emotional abuse, because it's a part of you that you can have like as a defense, who is there to work you through those moments when you're feeling that emotional pull of, I was wrong, I was overreacting, I was being dramatic. We all think it. That's normal. It's okay. What's going to separate you is your ability to understand that that's a normal thing. That's a normal part of the process, and allow yourself to have those feelings, but to not go back to the situation, and don't let them win. Have a part of you that is stronger and says, you did the right thing. This is normal. You did the right thing. Stand strong, and you'll find that that feeling will fade, and you'll remember why.